I was going to wear my glasses.
Good morning. We are the Marketing Moms, and we're here to make marketing easy for you. That's our job. I'm Ann Brennan, and this is
Anastassia Van Greshapy. Good morning.
Yeah. So, Anastassia, you were going to say you probably got hurt a little bit in the beginning of this. You said I was going
to wear my glasses, but then I was like, oh, I feel like I look like a librarian. No offense to the librarians out there. But I was like, this is a little too.
There's a whole sexy librarian thing, isn't there? When you look like that, so you can say, yeah, I'm a sexy librarian.
Yeah, that's totally on my brand.
Exactly. Totally on brand. Exactly. So, all right. I want to remind everybody that we are live, and you could subscribe to this on YouTube, but you can watch it live on Twitter. We got Twitter back up. We got YouTube and Facebook, and several places on Facebook. So hopefully you're watching this live. If you are, you can leave us a comment, and we will actually see that and be able to answer your questions. So don't be shy. Ask us questions. That's really why we're here. We want to help you. I also, oops, look at that. We have a comment already. So somebody said, good morning, and I can't even tell who it is, but just like that, I can put this up there. Sometimes you can hide your identity from us, so we don't know who you are, but good morning to whoever is saying hi right now. All right, let me hide that and come back to our banners. So ask questions. That's how we're going to know whether we're on target. It's how we're going to know whether we're getting the right things out to you. So I want to jump in and say we're going to talk about SEO today, but don't go away. It doesn't have to be scary. It's not as complicated as it sounds. Anastassia, when you started this, because you're like me, we went to school before SEO was a thing.
Oh, but yeah, I graduated with an email account, so there was the internet out there when we were doing it, but there really was no instruction on how the internet was going to be used for marketing back
right?
then.
Yeah, exactly. And you were a marketing major. So
yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So we're going to talk about it, and we're going to talk about it from the standpoint of actually what we do with our clients. But because of that, it's also what you can do for yourself. So we help our clients with organic SEO. We don't charge a SEO fee. We do have people we partner with who can do that. But we're going to talk almost completely about organic SEO.
And you know what? I want to interrupt you right there, because one thing we haven't done just now is we haven't explained what SEO is.
Oh, yes.
So
yes.
What it stands for. And if you've been listening to us for the last, I don't know, what episode are we on now? I forget. Well, yeah, so we've been saying SEO, but we haven't been saying what it means. And we've been explaining it every week. But today, if you're a new listener to this, then you need to know SEO is search engine optimization. So it is Google virtually, or if you're still using Yahoo, I don't know if that is even around.
Sorry, that one person that's using Bing. Did you catch me? That was me.
Right. Yes.
So we know there's one person that uses Bing. So yeah, so it's how you're found on the internet. If somebody looks up your product or your service, are they finding you? That's what that is. And we can tell you, we'll go down the way of paid marketing, paid ads and things like that on Google later, not today. But today we're going to talk about what to do so you can be seen on Google without going out and hiring an SEO company, right? Not that we don't like SEO companies. Some of our best friends are SEO companies. But right now we want to talk about some of the things you can do, right?
Yeah, so if somebody is searching for you for either what you do or your business specifically, if you go and search on Google for a plumber, where do you show up on that list is basically what we're talking about. It's the points that we talk about every week. So the more points you have, the higher up the list you go.
Absolutely. And that's really what we're doing. We're trying to give you all the points. So starting with Google, we always want you to start with Google. And Google changes. Actually, they all change. We say this a lot. They all change. So this morning I was looking and I found this great page because I was like, this wasn't here, at least the last time I looked for it. Google Search Console. There's a spider right in front of me. Can you guys see it? I got it. Sorry. The other day it came down here. It was really big on the screen, but it was very small. But there's Google Search Console, right? And this is a really great tool that will walk you through what Google wants you to know. So I'm going to share in the show notes, I will share this search.google.com/search-console. And you'll go there and there's a button that says start here. And it will walk you through all the things Google wants you to do to make your website visible on their search engine. This is where you want to start. It's very simple. And I like that about Google, that I think that they, unlike Facebook, and I'm just going to throw them under the bus here, Google wants to help you. Don't you feel like that, Anastassia?
Yes, I feel like that. Like, they're not as, it's still not as easy to get a hold of a person, but it's a heck of a lot easier than Facebook. I am the resident Facebook dealer with, I don't know what to call myself with this, but if Facebook needs to be contacted, I am the one that does the contacting at ASMM. And it is a nightmare every single time.
Well, and you worked for weeks and weeks and weeks on one problem.
2
And
months.
it turns out there was like 2 months. And there was one button you could push.
Yeah.
That's not how it works with Google. If you go to Google and it tells you, hey, here are the steps to take, it tells you these are the steps to take. And now do this. And now do this. It is simple. Last week, I think Winsome, who is a local senior care facility, she owns a senior care facility, she messaged us and she's like, oh my gosh, I went through Google My Business and I did all of the things and it was so easy. And that's what Google's like. So when you go to this Google console, you're going to find that it's really, really easy.
I feel like Google, you're right. They're Google and Facebook are totally different, like, and partly I'm wondering if it's because Google really is invested in business and they're really trying to help small business. Whereas Facebook, they claim that they're not for a business. They claim they're for like personal relationships. But here's the thing, Facebook, if you don't have all those advertisers and all those businesses, where are you going to make your money from the individuals that are contacting their family? You're not.
Exactly. Well, and I have a feeling that if I owned Pepsi and I called them, they would figure out how to help me.
Yeah.
Right. So they're for business. They're just not for small business. That's how I feel. I'm just putting it out there. And that's how they make, that's how they make you feel.
Yeah.
And
but they claim that they are not for business.
Right. Exactly.
That's why I'm like, just be honest. Let's be honest here. And here's the reality is we need each other, right? Whereas Google is like, okay, you need us. We're going to make it simple. And they really do. A lot of the things that are on Google, they walk step by step you through it, Now, it's not necessarily, not everything changes, and you have to be in there all the time. And we speak about this every week. You have to be in your social media all the time. You have to be in your website all the time. You have to be in your Google My Business all the time. Whether you're responding to reviews or adding information, they're constantly changing. This is technology. Technology does not stay stagnant. You need to keep up with it.
Yeah, exactly. And I want to go back and say something because it is worth saying. I said you spent 2 months on the phone with Facebook. And that's us with managing 50 clients, right? That's us managing 50 clients and you get to talk to them. But what if you're just opening a hair salon and you're trying and you can't figure out how to add a user. You can't figure out how to claim your page. You can't figure out how to publish your page. You're screwed. You just are.
Oh, absolutely. And it was chatting, not phone conversation, because Facebook refuses to call me. But the conversation was actually, I tell people, Ann and I are on the same number of pages. Ann probably has a few extra ones that I don't have access to, but I have admin access to a lot of our clients. I cannot chat as Anastasia. I have to chat as Anne Brennan. So even though I manage 50 pages, I can't contact them directly. Only Anne's account can contact them directly,
Right.
which is great for me because I can just log in as Anne and I can contact them and I can deal with them for our clients. But the average company can't do that. They're not like, I mean, if the fact that I as an admin on 50 accounts can't get access to Facebook, how is that individual, like you said, the hair salon or the electrician or whomever, like you have
Exactly.
a business or you're buying a business and you're trying to figure out how to claim something, any kind of little issue, there's just no way. And they have like a place to report it, but they don't get back to you. You're
They
not,
don't have to.
you're not important.
No, no, exactly. All right. So, oh, I skipped right over Google My Business. Google My Business, we have talked about ad nauseum. If you have not done this yet, go back. A couple of episodes ago, I think it was episode 6, we did an entire episode just on Google My Business and optimizing that for your business. So go back, listen to that. Sit down at your computer, listen to it, pause it, listen to it, pause it, and do all the things we talked about. If you do, you are going to start ranking better. It is just a fact. So please do that. Keywords. I want to talk about keywords because I'm going to tell a story. I told Anastasia this morning. We have how many? We have 4 or 5 cybersecurity or IT companies that we're working with. And they're wonderful. They are really great, but they're also super smart and quite nerdy. And as nerdy people, they have this way of talking that I sometimes think they're speaking another language. So when they go on and they try to put their words, they put copy on their website, they speak in a language that other people don't understand. So what we want to say is think about the keywords, but don't think of keywords as keywords because you think keywords, well, that is SEO, maybe. That's the word SEO people are looking up. And maybe it is, but probably they're saying, how do I get on the first page of Google? So what are those words that they're looking up about your business that you need to start putting on your site, right? If you are a plumber, people are looking up, oh gosh, let me use this. If you're an HVAC company, people are looking up, why is my heat not working? I'm picking on Anastasia because she's been there.
Exactly. I'm there right now. Hopefully the HVAC people are at my house fixing my HVAC.
Exactly.
It's in my house. So
But what are they looking up? So if you're an IT company, they're looking up, why am I getting this message on my computer? They're looking up, oh my gosh, I can't find my backup. They're looking up things like that. So use the words your customers are using. Those are your keywords. They're not the technical terms that you particularly know, because that's not what somebody's looking up.
I think what happens is that people, we're all wanting to show our clients and our customers that we are experts in our field. And you go in, you're having a conversation with a bunch of like really highly educated people and they're throwing the big words around, because everybody wants to seem smarter than the other person. And that's good and great, but who are your customers? If your customers speak that language, then great. Use that language because then you are appealing to them because they're the ones that's what they're searching, right? So they're going to be searching those big terms. But if you're, for instance, an IT company that deals with a fence and deck company, there's one right outside here. And who is that? Who is the owner of that fence and deck company? Are they an attorney or or somebody who's a software engineer or that knows all these terms? Probably not.
Right.
So you have to make sure you meet people where they are, because if you, like we talked about way back when, I think on the first episode, of us not using these acronyms and these terms because we want to make sure that our audience understands and can follow along and doesn't feel overwhelmed and daunted by
Right.
what we're talking about. So it's the same kind of thing. So when you're looking for keywords for your clients, think about who they are, think about their background, think about exactly what Ann said. What are they looking up? And
Right.
the thing is, if you've done your Google My Business and you can go in there and it will tell you in the insight.
What they're looking up.
It tells you exactly what people looked up to find you, and whether or not they looked you up directly or they looked up a general term and you popped up in their search and then they clicked on you.
Absolutely. And let me give you a little tip. You can also, this should not be the only place you do this, but if you have a blog and you've got terms that are, let me think about, so cybersecurity, one of the things you talk about a lot in cybersecurity is zero trust infrastructure, right? Well, if you create a glossary of cybersecurity terms, you could create a glossary as part of your blog and say, have you heard these words thrown around? This is what they mean. And you can literally use the word that you know and tell the person what it means. And that will help you to rank higher in your social media. I mean, on your Google listing. We did this with Chimney Tech. Because chimneys, there's a lot going on in a chimney. It does not just that brick thing you see up there. There's all the tile inside, and there's the flue, and there's the flashing, and so we put all those terms into a glossary. So when people call, they don't have to say, you know, that little silver thing that's on the outside. They can say, oh yeah, the flashing that's on the outside, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they've got those things. So that brings us to content. Right? Content is your single biggest tool for being seen online. It's your single biggest tool because Google is looking for, you're helping Google. People are coming to Google, they want to find answers. Well, Google then, somebody types it in, Google is searching for, where is this answer? Well, if you have content, a lot of content that over and over again mentions specific things, right? If you're over and over again talking about zero trust infrastructure, then, and you're local, they're more likely to find your website than another website. That's really what it boils down to. So creating content, a lot of it on every page in a way that makes sense to your customers. And let me caution, because we worked with this company that I could not stand. I actually finally said to the client, we can't deal with you because you're working with this particular guy who believed that the magic of keywords is just the keywords. It's not, it's the writing. So he literally would go into the guy's website and throw up, like, actually, that's what it felt like. He threw up all over the guy's page the keywords, and they didn't make sense. And so I kept saying to our client, okay, but what happens when the client comes to your website and they find these keywords, but none of them make sense? It's like somebody who didn't speak English wrote this. It makes no sense. They're not going to call you, right? So it's a combination. You have to use the keywords, but you also have to make sense. So
Definitely.
that's my word of caution. So, Anastasia, what other things do you, when we're talking about contents, are there other things that you see often or you wonder about often?
No, I think you hit it on nail on the head. Like, I think it has to be relevant, it has to be current, and it has to be ever changing, so you need to be putting up content all the time.
Right.
So
Right. And not all on one page.
yeah.
Yeah. So one thing to keep in mind is that they do, part of the algorithm that Google uses is to make sure that you are an established company. And established companies have multiple pages on their website. Established companies have a lot of pages, and maybe that's a different page, one page for each service, right? Maybe it's adding blogs, maybe it's adding a glossary, maybe it's adding questions, what facts, frequently asked questions,
Mhm.
right? All of those. So content matters. If you need help with that, again, we're always here. We can answer your questions. Go look at our blog. Wondering what good content looks like? Go look at our blog. Our website has a ton of information between videos and blogs and podcasts and so much information. So go there and look and see, does my website match up to this? Is it something that I can do? And you're not going to do it all at once. It's
Yeah,
taken
so I
us
was gonna
5
say,
years
keep
to
in
get.
mind, this is years in the making. Yeah.
Exactly. So, all right, directories. This is one of the things when you call an SEO company that they tell you, oh, one of the things we do is we get you on hundreds of directories, and that's how people find you. But not all directories are the same. right? So Anastasia, talk about some of the ones that we talk about a lot, the ones that people should make sure they're doing.
Yeah, and the reason for the directories, right, is the backlinks. So having a link back to your website from another page. We always talk about the chambers. You know, like we are members of 2 chambers around here, the Northern Anne Arundel Chamber of Commerce and the Greater Savannah Park and Arnold Chamber of Commerce. And then
And now the Silver Spring Chamber of
and now the
Commerce.
Silver Spring, that's right, now the Silver Spring Chamber of Commerce. And we also, you know, Anne and I and Whitney, another employee here, we're all members of BNI, which is a network, Business Networking International. So there are directories on each of those platforms. So we've made sure that everything's filled in, our logo's on there, all the things that any time they ask you for information, just fill it in. You know, so those are the directories that we're definitely on and keep up to date.
Absolutely. And then I did a quick search and I found directories. There's 21 directories that really are still ranking well within Google. So I put that at the bottom of the screen, but we're also going to put it in the show notes so you'll have that. Fill these in. And I want to say this. We've given you a lot. We've said start with Google, go to the search console, make sure you've got your keywords right, add some content. We've given you all these things. Go to the directories, do all these things. One of the things you'll find if you hire somebody for paid SEO is they'll say it takes some time. And that's because it's a constant role, I guess. You're always doing something in your SEO to make it good. So for you, this is going to be the same thing. You're always going to be doing something. You're not going to sit down and do all of these things we talked to you about today. You should just be in your website often. You should be in these directories often. You should be in your Google My Business often. This is important. And so that might be why you say, you know what? I'm just going to pay for SEO. Right? You could just say, it's just too much. Once you see it, you do go, oh, I see why they charge a lot. And they do. I think right now, most of the people we work with as for paid SEO start at $750. They're like, that's the lowest we'll go. $750 a month, you have to be committed to that. And then they go from there. They go up from there, depending on what you want them to
Can
do.
go up drastically from there too.
Oh yeah, drastic. We have clients who are paying $10,000 a month for SEO. So yeah, so definitely think about how much you need and how patient you're going to be. If you need stuff to start right now, then you're going to have to put in some extra effort or you're going to have to hire an SEO company.
One thing that I do want to highlight with this is that you need to make sure before you go and spend a ton of money on SEO, there will be a return on investment for what you're paying. However, if your business cannot handle the increased phone calls and the increased business coming in, then you're wasting your money because people, you know, if you can't handle the business, and then you're going to get a bunch of bad reviews because you're not able to provide the service that you've promised or the follow-up or whatever. So I'm not saying don't do this by all means. You know, for the clients of ours that do pay for SEO, they're doing great because their business kind of grew to at a rate that they could sustain it, and they're still able to provide the service that they promise. So just keep that in mind. Like when you're
Absolutely.
thinking about, oh, I want my business to grow. Oh, that's all great. But what are you able to do to maintain the level of customer service and the level of products or your service, that are you still maintaining that same can't think of the word, that same level of expertise and attention to everything that
Absolutely.
you're doing. So just keep that in mind.
Yeah, absolutely. It is important. And I would say I would go so far as to say if you're a one truck plumber, maybe going out and spending a huge amount of money on SEO and pay-per-click isn't the way to do it. Maybe what you do is you join some chambers and you start some networking, because word of mouth might be just the thing for you. Now, I will say this, that you do want to build up. So all of these things we've given you organically, you can build up over time. So as your business is building, you've also got these things building for you.
Mhm.
And then hire for that position, hire in the paid SEO part. So we want to give you actionable items. And this one today is one of my favorites because it means you're going to have to go on your website. But pump up your website copy. Even if it's just a page, I want you to go and look at a page, look at one of your most profitable services or your most profitable product. Look at that page and see, does it have everything it should have? Does it have more than, a few words? Does it really describe what it is? Does it tell why people need you and what pain points you're addressing there? See if all of that is addressed. Really pump up your copy.
And what emotion does that copy evoke in somebody?
Right.
Like, is it something that's going to be like, oh, we're not talking sappy emotion. It could be the emotion that's conveyed is a sense of, could be a sense of urgency, or, oh, I really need to take care of this. We have a company that's a security company, and they have, there's been a banning
Not really a recall, a banning, yeah.
banning of a certain kind of camera in certain government spaces because they can be hacked. So what's that sense of urgency? On that page, the sense of urgency, the emotion is a sense of urgency. We have to take care of this because we could be hacked. So
Right.
that's the emotion that you're wanting to think. So think about what is the goal of the page? Like, what are you trying to get people to do? If you're just informing, that's one thing. But if you want them to buy or to call and schedule an appointment or something, just make sure that copy has that. And very important, don't steal copy from anybody else.
Oh my gosh. And not just because it's wrong, right?
Yes.
Not because it's wrong. I want to be really clear on this. Yes, it is absolutely wrong. It's plagiarism. Don't do it. But if your copy is exactly the same as a guy, even if the guy is in Alaska and you are in Maryland, Google knows that. And if the two copies are the same, he's going to get all of the ranking because he was first. So don't steal people's copies. So I will say this, there are very few times that I say you absolutely should hire someone, but you absolutely should hire someone to help you write the copy, unless you are a phenomenal writer and everybody has said, oh my gosh, you should go write a book, right? And most of us aren't, right? Most people aren't that kind
I
of
like how you
writer.
say that because you have written a book.
I have written a book. But most people haven't. And so if you can't, if you need help with the writing, I will tell you, it's not as expensive as you think it is. It will usually be between $100 a page and what, $175 a page, right?
Depends on the writer. Some people value their copy a lot more. However, you also need to think of it as like, my husband listened to a podcast one time about value-based pricing and how something might not take a very long time for you or I to do, but what is the value it gives to the overall customer? So if you're plumping up your website copy, we're telling you today, and we've said it many times, it is extremely important. Your website copy is invaluable. So if you have to spend a little bit of money to get that up and running, then you should, because it's invaluable to you. I spoke last week about a client who, in between hiring us and us starting on their content, upgraded their website with incredible copy. Like, it was so good.
It makes a huge difference.
I knew kind of what they did, but I always we dive into people's websites when we're creating content for their social media. It was so easy for me to create because I really understood what they were talking about.
Absolutely.
Another client who we don't really understand everything that's going on with them, so we have a lot of phone calls, and that's us as a social media trying to put out their information. So
and we have sat, we've sat down with them, right?
Yes.
We've sat down with them and discussed their business. We discuss in deep terms their business. And still when we go to their website, we're like, what does that mean?
Yes.
And that's us. So what's happening to your client when they see that?
It's
right?
important. And we can help you with your website copy. Like Ann said, we're not talking a huge investment, but it's an important investment into your business. And we have writers that can help you with that. So
Absolutely. All right. So hopefully we didn't scare you off. Hopefully you're going to say, okay, I'm going to start with what? How do you eat an elephant, Anastasia?
one bite at a time.
One bite at a time. So I'm going to go right back to the top and say, start with Google. Start with Google, look up Google Search Console and start there. And that's going to be a really good place to be seen. So start there. Next week, we're going to talk about email marketing, which is one of our favorite topics.
It is.
It is. It's really important.
It's not.
Yeah, exactly. But no, it is a really important topic. So we'll talk about how to use email marketing for your business and why it is really the number one way people want to be reached, even now. So I also want to remind you that the blog is up. Today is a really good day for you to go because what is it? It's the 8th, and we just put up a blog about making the most of the weeks between now and Christmas. So please do go and look at that. See if there are some things you can do to bring in some business over the holidays. It's something that you could do before the end of the year.
If you have a business that relies on this period of time for sales, then you definitely need to read it and you need to start today because it's not too late, but it will soon be.
It will soon be.
That I think that from what we're hearing in the news, people are going to be shopping a little bit earlier this year. So make sure that you hit the ground running now because it's very important.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please do come back next week. We will talk about email marketing next week. It's going to be great. If you have questions in between, message us. We love that. And go over and check out the blog because that particular post is going to be helpful to you for the holidays. All right. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.